The first wedding between a human and zombie.
You boys clean up real nice.
Carla, I have a hug with your name on. Here it comes.
Oh no,
Here it comes.
What's going on, everybody? It's Ted again with the countdowncitygeeks.com. I got another special interview for you guys. Director of the hilarious Zomcom. We'll explain that in a second. The zombie wedding is one and only Micah Khan. How's it going, sir?
I'm good, man. How about yourself?
Oh, I'm doing wonderful. This was hysterical, and I was also happily surprised with sort of the comedic legends that you have in this film. First, talk to us about the zombie wedding and how you got involved with the project.
Yeah, so the zombie wedding is it's about a bride and a groom who are about to get married, and the zombie apocalypse breaks out, and they decide to continue with the wedding after the groom and his side of the family has turned into zombies. It is the first film from the Weekly World News, who are like super famous supermarket tabloid from like the 90s. They're like really famous for like Bat Boy found in a cave or Hillary Clinton making love with aliens and stuff like that. It's very weird stuff, but I love it. How I got involved is I made a short film called Meet Cute on Dance World, which I released on the internet during the pandemic because there was nothing happening in the world, especially film festivals. So I was like, let me just throw it out there. And the producers found it through an AD friend of theirs, an assistant director friend of theirs. And they were like, oh, we should ask this guy if he wants to direct this movie. And they reached out, and I was like, yeah. It was the first time anyone's ever offered me a job to direct a feature film.
Oh my gosh. There's so many fantastic actors and actresses in this film, and I was happily surprised, like I mentioned, to see some very familiar faces. First off, I got to talk about Cheri Oteri, who arguably is my favorite female SNL cast member of all time. She cracks me up like nonstop. And to see her throughout this film kind of hitting the similar beats and still have that comedic timing was just fantastic. How was it getting her on board and just collaborating with her, or like what did you witness on set, that magic, that creativity, that comedic wit of hers? Like, what was that like?
Yeah, Cheri is just like such a funny person just to be around. She is like innately funny, so like anything she says she has perfect timing when it comes to like her, just in general, just perfect timing. I I'll tell you a story that I haven't told anyone. Cheri's so funny. Can I curse on this podcast?
Of course, go for it.
Okay. So we're filming on the streets of Vineland, New Jersey, and there was this like guy blasting music across the street. So our assistant director was gonna run across the street and tell him to please, like, yo, turn it down. And when he got there, Cheri just yells, "Kick his ass, Gus!" And all of us just started losing it because we're like, is this guy actually gonna fight Gus? Because that would have been hilarious. And Gus was just like, oh no, hold on. Like, it was fine at the end. But it was so funny to just hear her say it in the moment.
Oh my
god! Because we're like, we're all just like stressing out trying to get this shot, and then she just like immediately removed the tension, but also may have actually almost gotten her AD in a fight. But she's great.
Oh my god! Yeah.
Her and Siobhan Fallon Hogan was also an SNL alum. Her and Siobhan just like duked it out in the improv.
Yes.
Like, they're like improv geniuses. They just loved fighting with each other. Not like fighting, but like improv fighting with each other.
Yeah.
Just kind of like one up each other. And it was so fun to watch. And they had such a good time doing it. And just seeing them, like, when we call cut and them just laughing to each other, just like about what they just said, it was so funny.
I loved it. It was like a classic back and forth battle throughout. It reminded me of watching Martin all over again. Martin was always getting to a fight with Gina's best friend, whose name escapes me right now. But just the banter back and forth, I was just like, oh my God, this is so amazing. And I love hearing that a lot of it was like improv, because kind of see that and you can kind of feel it in the moment. And I feel like Cheri's one of the best at it. It just we don't give her
Yeah.
enough credit. She really is
Yeah,
one
no,
of the best at it.
she's one of the best. I mean, I just remember losing my mind when she improvised the honey, my dead taco hasn't been this busy since I was alive or something like that. I was behind the monitor just I was so just like my face was just red from just resisting laughter. And I was just doing this. I was like, please don't blow this take. It was very difficult to not laugh. And there were moments, oh my God, there were when she says I can't remember the exact line, so I'm gonna butcher it. But the father of the bride is
Mhm.
saying we're gonna go to the Elks Lodge, and she goes, "It smells like alcohol or like stale beer, alcohol, and whores."
Yeah.
That was improvised, and that was like, and actually, I may have ruined that specific take because I remember laughing, and she just kept a straight face, and they must have ADR'd around it.
Oh my god.
Because like I don't remember not laughing in that moment or like picking audio from another take because I was definitely losing it on that one.
Yeah, no, she's amazing in it. And the one-liners and the timing and everything. And like I mentioned, there was something so familiar about it, the way she was doing it. It just felt like classic Cheri. It was I was
Yeah.
watching an SNL skit with zombies at a wedding. Like it was just
I'm so
incredible.
glad to hear that, man. I'm so glad to hear you say that. And yeah, when we were going into the casting process, we were talking about how, how do we get improvisers to like really make the script their own. So like we even had like Ajay Nadu from Office Space, and he is so funny and like he would like after every take he would improvise. So we have a bunch of takes. I mean, I really hope they do a Blu-ray someday with just all the deleted scenes and all the improv we did because at the end of every take, Ajay would do something different. So like the one that made it into the movie was do whales exist? They don't. Like he goes on for a full 4 minutes about whales after that.
Oh my
And
god.
it's like and it was actually the funniest thing I've ever heard in my life. And I was like, we're never gonna have that whole thing in the movie, but God, do I love that we have like a video of it somewhere. And then there's another I remember there's a moment where Ajay was wanted to say something more after a line, and like he was like, what are the kids saying for slang for dicks these days? I was like, just say yell glizzies, and, and he did it, and like I still think like when we have done like the festival circuit, the glizzies line gets the funniest, like the biggest laugh because
I
no one's
bet.
expecting him to say it.
I bet. I was watching the opening title sequence, and a name popped out that I'm very familiar with. Seth Gilliam, who I've interviewed multiple times. He's a great individual.
Yeah,
He's so down to earth, and for some reason he can't get away from zombies because he was on Walking Dead for most of his life, and now
yeah,
he's
he
back.
wanted to do this. He came to us. He came to us, so he heard about the role through another producer, and he was just like, "Oh, it's a zombie preacher. I want to do it," and that was it. That was it.
Well, I was gonna say, like, I was waiting for him to show up. I was like,
He was there the
Seth,
whole time, baby.
maybe it's a different Seth. I'm like, where is he? Where is he? And then finally, I get a little bit glimpse of the preacher's face. I'm like, oh my god, is that Seth? Never seen him in a role like this. I feel like ever. He's so used to being,
Yes,
a police detective, on The Wire,
yes, so
or
serious.
a
Yeah,
badass pastor in The Walking Dead. This is a completely other side of that. This gave me nostalgic thoughts about coming to America,
hmm
like watching one of the entertainers or one of the preachers in that movie. Tell me about Seth's process. Did he build this character with you? Was it kind of lined up and he just kind of fell into it? Like, what was that collaboration like?
so it was written as it was, where it was kind of supposed to be like a cross between. I forget how we originally described it. It's supposed to be like a cross between like James Brown and like someone else. And then Seth came to set, and he was fully prepared, fully like he had every line down, and the only thing I ever wanted from him was like when we were on set doing his stuff, I I just like go bigger, like just have fun with it. Like I've never seen him do this before, and to
Never.
see him do it, I just wanted more. And so like my whole philosophy with him on set was I want to get him at a few different levels. So like I want to get him at really big, like a medium, and then like a goofy, like mild, right? Just so we have options in the edit for him to kind of play around with it to craft his performance in the edit. But I think they ended up going with all the bigger ones. I can't remember them not. I will say, and this is something that I'm also telling you, there was a scene that got cut out that I thought was just the funniest scene I've ever seen Seth do. So I make a lot of references in this movie to like other movies and other things, other like
Sure.
just other things that I love, like The Shining and stuff like that. But we made a specific reference to Lord of the Rings in the scene where Gollum is talking to himself.
Yeah.
So Gollum and Schmeagol are talking. So we shot a scene where Seth is arguing with himself as he's turning it. So it's like his human self is arguing with his zombie self.
Oh man.
It was so funny. And I just like, I'm so sad that it didn't make it into the movie because it's like, you make those decisions, when you're making films, and our film was already long enough. I think we run longer than a comedy usually does. And so it was really just about like, listen, like, what are we keeping? Because it's like I think our full cut of our movie could have been 2 hours and 20 minutes. 'Cause we were like, we have so much fun improv that we could have played around with, and maybe like someday that would be fun to like do like a cut where it's just like the improv cut where we just let like the edit go wild and have people enjoy it, and just be aware like, yeah, it's gonna be long, but it's also you're gonna see some people do some shit you never heard before, and that was fun. But yeah, so that. And then, no, Seth was really like, Seth really just wanted to know we were getting what we wanted, and we were like, yeah, we're getting it.
It's so wild. I loved seeing him doing that. Just singing on screen. I'm like, I've never witnessed this before. This is a total new experience for me.
Apparently, he's a
Yeah,
singer too. He's been in a band before too. Like
no kidding.
there was a girl from Atlanta who like knew Seth from a band, and she was like, "Hey, do you remember playing with me?" It was our contact lens technician, and he was like, "Yeah, I remember." So I was like, allegedly, Seth Gilliam is a great singer, and somebody needs to put him in a musical. That's all I'm saying.
Next time I see him, I'm gonna bring that up. I'm like, bro, word on the street is you got some
Yes.
pipes. You can sing.
Yes.
Let's see what he says about that.
Yeah.
This must have been a massive undertaking because for those of you who don't know what this is about yet, we talked briefly about it, but it's about a world where zombies are sort of taking over the population, but they're also like coherent. They think, they speak, they sort of live everyday lives, but they still sort of have these urges for human flesh and brains and whatever else. And so you have a large amount of extras and actors that need makeup, prosthetics, like all this stuff. And I'm sure you're shooting over the span of 3 to 6 weeks probably for this project. How big is your makeup team and your special effects team to like do this for so many people, for so many scenes?
So I'm gonna preface this with we had a budget. It wasn't a big budget. Um, we were a 35 location, 21 actor, 18-day shoot.
Oh wow.
So we weren't that long in the grand scheme of things. I think we were just like maybe we had the weekends off. So yeah, it was 3 weeks were there total, but like it was 18 days. Our makeup department fluctuated from anywhere from 4 people to 12 people, depending on like how big of a day we had. So our makeup department on our worst days we're doing makeup on like 80 people. Um,
That is wild.
yeah, and
Wow.
they were really great. Christian DiMedici, who ran our makeup department, he works for Lady Gaga. Like he does her like crazy aquatic look for her latest tour.
Wow.
He assembled the team, the Ford sisters, Eve, man, I can't remember all their names right now. Nafra, Dia, like there was a bunch of great makeup artists that we have who were just like between them and the costume department who had to clothe 100 people. They definitely maybe have the hardest time on the movie.
Oh, sure.
But they did it. They did it with a smile because they were having such a great time. Um, so yeah, our makeup was very difficult, but as the time went on, we figured out ways to streamline our process. So for example, and I'll tell you, but I try not to tell everybody this because then people start
Oh,
looking. But so
exclusive.
like yeah, exclusive. Here we go. So like let's say like we have Seth right here, right? And the
Yeah.
camera's in front of him. There's actually a specific shot I'm thinking in my head like in the third act like where Seth is in the like very front of the frame and then everyone kind of triangles out, right? Um so for that scene specifically, we had the most extras that day. I remember I tell my makeup department, listen, we're going to create three quadrants. We're going to do our A quadrant, our B quadrant, and our C quadrant, right? So our A quadrant, those are the zombies that we need to look great. We need them to look the best we can. Our B quadrant, we had pre-made masks. So we had masks
Mm,
on them. And then our C quadrant, just powder. So just like make their face look pale and that's it.
5 minutes.
So
Yeah.
it gives the impression that they're all a cohesive, unit. But if you look for it, you can start as soon as you get past row A, you can start seeing like, okay, there's the masks, and then you can see just like regular people in just white makeup.
You got to make it work, right?
Right, because when you're making a movie like this for like we don't have time to waste. Like everyone else had a great time except for me, because I was just having to manage every single detail of like how are we gonna bring this in on budget and on time. So like you don't have time to go, okay, let's figure it out when we get there. We have to have plans enacted before we even get there, and you know, we're a low budget movie. You just have to be creative about how we get our shots and make sure that, like, at the end of the day, a lot of people won't notice some things. And so, but there's also moments in this movie where I'm like trying to train the audience to look into the background. So I may bite myself in the ass a little bit because I built a lot of jokes in the beginning of the movie to get people to start paying attention to the background of the movie
I get
because
it.
there's
Yeah.
storylines happening in the background of the movie that I don't
Yeah.
think anyone notices until the second watch, where there's like full on storylines happening, especially like with the groomsmen. Like everyone has like a little thing happening.
Yeah.
One thing that got cut out actually that is happening in the background of the movie but never gets a resolution now. But we had shot this sub storyline that one of the groomsmen, Jimmy, is falling in love with one of the ZCO officers, and they're having a full on romance in the background of most of these shots. And then we had shot a moment where they're like during the chaos and everyone's biting each other. We had a moment where they see each other, and she takes out a brain bar and feeds him in his mouth, and it was like so silly. But we built it all in the background. And there's a bunch of jokes in the background too. Like we have my favorite joke is the Elvis joke, where like in the first scene, the real scene of the movie, we have Elvis, a Elvis placard on a chair, right?
Right.
But there's a moment, I think like 40 minutes into the movie, maybe 30 minutes in the movie, where the Weekly World News officers they say a line that says they said, "I bet you think Elvis is running around somewhere." And the second she says that line, if you look in the background, Elvis is fighting zombies doing karate in
I
the background.
love that.
Yeah,
That's
so like,
very office like. Office is always like doing jokes and then they'll have something going on that's like like a glimpse or something. There's one joke they did where in different scenes somebody says the word Beetlejuice. Well, the
yes,
third time
in
somebody says
Community.
Beetlejuice, he's
Yeah,
actually walking in the background.
yeah,
And
in
it's for like
Community.
a half
I
second, yeah.
love,
Oh, Community,
yeah,
that's right, yeah.
yeah, I love Community. Yeah, I love Community. I love because they do a whole episode where Danny Pudi is like having his own adventure in the background. I forget what episode it is, but like he's like fighting someone and then he's helping a woman give birth in the background and like that's that's really funny. My inspiration was a French filmmaker named Jacques Tati, but then
Okay.
I remember that Community episode a lot. Like I've because I love that episode, and that's definitely another reason why I was like, we should do this. We should have like jokes in the background because like the goal is to get the audience to have a good experience and be able to rewatch the movie and find new things that they find in it.
That's amazing. This is based on a play.
Yeah.
I'm not familiar with the play, but was there either any pressure to sort of keep in line with it, or do you feel like you had freedom to like be flexible with the characters or the plot or anything like that?
You know, there wasn't too much pressure. I think the only reason why things really changed are because our actors were improvising and came up with just stuff that was just like insanely funny, or locations or things fell through, right? So like we had to change our scene. So like there was a day where one of our locations fell through an hour before we were supposed to shoot there.
Oh my
And
god.
so we had to come up with a brand new idea. So we rewrote the scene was supposed to take place in a motel, and we rewrote it to be in a diner within an hour. And then my production designer John Stegman went and built a diner because I was like, okay, what resources do we have? And he's like, I was in the basement of this building. There was diner booths. So I could build a diner in about an hour. And so like in an hour, he built this diner in the corner of our production office, and literally in the corner of our production office. And if you looked anywhere to the left, you would see the entire makeup department doing makeup. Or if you looked anywhere to the right, you would see the entire production office. So we could only shoot in one direction straight. And if we looked left or right, in any direction, we would see the entire like office or the departments. It was like little things like that were like, one, we have to be on our toes and pivot, and then two, just like be able to change what we need to change and keep moving forward, because again we don't have the time to be like, well, let's figure it out. Can we throw money at it? We can't build a set. We just don't have those luxuries like some filmmakers do. you know I'm very jealous of filmmakers who get 30 days to film something. It sounds like a luxury, but it's like, a lot of people don't know that a lot of films, and a lot of TV, they don't have a lot of time to film. Like I think Hallmark movies have 12 days
Oh my
to
god.
film. Like TV shows like The Walking Dead are like 14 days per episode. It's crazy. Like to think about like how much time you don't have to shoot ever.
Yeah. No, you're not wrong at all. And that whole story is remarkable. That guy's a miracle worker.
Yes, that's what we
Big
called them.
big props for being able to pull that off. Build a diner in an hour. I can't clean my house in an hour. How do you build a diner in an hour?
It was nuts, dude. I just because we went and shot other stuff while he was doing that. He's like, "Give me an hour and I'll build it." So we got back. We were like, "Holy shit, there's actually a diner in this corner." And just like we just to be really creative, because like if again like if we looked in any other direction, you'd see it's not a diner. But like the way we originally the full scene didn't make it into the movie, but the way that originally the scene starts is like it starts on a diner menu being picked up, and then we're pushing forward into the conversation of the characters just to like really sell that it's a diner.
Talk to us about your leads who did a fantastic job. Hope I get
Yes.
these names right. Deepti and Donald Chang. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, Deepti and Donald, it's funny. So Donald came across my radar a year ago, or a few years ago. Wow, a year ago. A year before the project even came about, because I just knew he was like a super funny guy. And I invited him to come audition to be in the movie, or to be originally the groomsman Matt he auditioned for. But then his audition was so good that we were like, let's just give him the role of Zach.
Yeah.
Because he was so funny and he improvised in the audition, and he was just like lightning fast. And like, so when I was talking to producers, I was like, we need a guy like this who's like, he understands the material, but then also is willing to put his own stamp on it and like come up with ideas, because that's how we really stay fresh and relevant in a movie like this. And then Deepti, so we had, oh my God, dude, we had maybe 8,000 submissions per role for this movie.
Holy
It was
cow.
nuts.
Wow.
It was nuts. We had a lot of people like submit. We had a lot of auditions. Deepti, when she first, the second I saw Deepti, I was like, yeah, I'm done. That's who I want to cast. She was just like, she was so good in the audition, and then even better on set. Like, and just an absolute professional, knew her lines, hit her marks, improvised, did what was game for anything. Um, I don't think I've worked with I've the cast of Zombie Wedding, like when you make a campy horror film, like you worry that like people are gonna come in, they're gonna phone it in, right? They're like, we'll do big performances and that's it, and then we'll go home, I collect my check. Not a single person on this movie phoned it in. Everyone cared. everyone wanted to be a part of it. Everyone wanted to contribute. And Donald and Deepti were at the front of that. They were like constantly contributing, constantly game to do anything. They were just like two of the best people I've ever worked with. And I really, really hope that they like become movie stars, honestly, because they just deserve that level of like stardom because they work so hard and they carried they're in almost every scene of the movie. They carried that movie, you know?
Yeah.
And then on top of that, I mean, Siobhan Fallon Hogan is just such a. I'm friends with Siobhan. I've known her for years. She's just one of my favorite actors. And then one of the things that I find really fascinating about Siobhan is that she's incredibly camera aware. So like she knows exactly where she is in frame at any given moment. So like I don't even have to tell her, like if I'm sitting here and she's seeing this frame, I don't have to tell her where she is. She knows exactly where she is, and she'll never like leave the frame. She'll do whatever she wants in the frame, and she knows exactly where she is. It's like she never needs to look down at her mark. She always hit it. And like when you look back at her career, she's literally worked with the best directors in the planet. So it makes all the sense that happened. And then Kevin Chamberlin, who I sadly did not know him from Jessie. I knew him from TikTok because I thought he was just so funny on TikTok, and I loved like the songs he would sing, and he was just like a cute guy. Like he was a cute big guy. I loved him. And so that he was the first person I thought for the dad immediately when I was reading it. I was like, I would really love to get Kevin Chamberlin in this movie. And so when he said he would do it, I was just like, holy shit. But then I didn't know how big he was really, because like we had kids like freaking out like on the streets of Vineland, like Bertram is here. I was like, what is Bertram? And so I looked it up and I was like, oh, he's in a Disney Channel show that's like immensely popular.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
That's fantastic. I love hearing about all of them. Also, Heather Matarazzo, I've not seen in a minute. And she's so funny in this one as well. She's screaming the entire time, which makes it more hilarious. But no, she's so good too. Like you mentioned, it seemed like everybody was all in on this entire film, and it was wonderful and fantastic.
Yeah, Heather was super funny, and she like her improv was like I remember. I think one of them made it like one I know for sure made it in is when she stops the reporters and goes, I'd like to say hi to my Aunt Gertrude or something like that, and I was like, yo, that was mad funny.
I'm gonna give you 30 seconds here. I want you to sell the Zombie Wedding to the audience. Why should they check out this movie? Go for it.
Campy horror film, Cheri, Oteri, Siobhan Fallon Hogan, Kevin Chamberlin, Ajay Nadu, Seth Gilliam, Mickey Dolenz of the Monkees, Deepti and Donald, future movie stars. You want to see them before they're huge because you're gonna love them. Who else is in this movie? Vinny Pastore from The Sopranos is in it.
Oh my God, yeah.
We forgot to talk about him. It's the Weekly World News. And the Weekly World News, if you're aware of them, you're aware of them, but they're like a very famous tabloid. I mean, I feel like that's enough reason to go see it. Campy horror, Cheri, Oteri, Seth Gilliam, Kevin Chamberlin, Ajay Nadu. Repeat.
The Zombie Wedding is out now on video on demand. Check it wherever you can. And I want to thank Micah for taking the time to speak with us today. Absolutely hysterical film. Loved everybody that was in it. Thank you for giving Cheri another opportunity to shine and do her thing. Always appreciate that. And getting Seth to sing on camera is like it's like seeing a unicorn for the first time. It's just
please call
it.
him out on it. Tell him to sing for you next time you see him.
Absolutely will.
Tell him I said so. Tell him I said so.
I absolutely will. I appreciate you taking time with me today, man.
Thank you so much, Ted. I appreciate it.
Come on, you crazy ass zombies.
I'm not dying in New Jersey.